I see it. This is live.
Okay, okay. Today I'll be interviewing Nancy VanHook. She have amazing video on YouTube, and she's also an author. How are you doing, Nancy?
Well, thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you.
It's very
And
nice to
I'm
meet you
excited
too.
to get started.
Okay. Would you can you introduce who you are to the audience, please?
Yes, I'd love to. My name is Nancy Jo VanHook, and I wrote a book called My Intimate Journey to Self. It was published in 2012. And I am right now doing some tweaking on it and changing names in the book simply because I want to take care of the people I wrote about, which are family members and things like that. I want to make sure I get everybody's name changed so nobody's feelings are hurt and everybody is protected under the law of privacy and get that fixed. So, and there's some editing I want to get changed and things like that too. But
Okay.
that's the book is about my journey growing up, traveling to Mexico and India, and some of the mistakes I've made and some of the things I've learned and from those mistakes. And I describe them in a way of being grateful for those mistakes because I learned so much about life and my friends and family members and things like that. So it wasn't, I was sad about some of the things that happened, but I wasn't planning on getting a divorce. And I don't know, I guess you're naive when you're young and you don't know that you're going to be making the mistakes you do, because sometimes you fall in love and you make silly sometimes mistakes that can hurt other people in the future, and you don't see that coming. So, which I'm talking about, which is my daughter, and you know, and I have brothers and my mom and dad, and you know, these people are important in your life. So, but
Okay.
now
Thank you.
today, I've made a lot of changes, and I'm now engaged to a man named John Miller, and life's pretty good.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Well, I have a couple ideas of asking you questions on um, India. You know, my ex is from India. She's from Nepal. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but because when you said namaste, I was like, oh, I know what this is. um, I would like first and foremost, thank you for so much for introducing yourself into the audience, and thank you for sharing your amazing story.
Thank you.
When you write your book, what is your message? You know, your intimate journey to self. What is your message that you're trying to convey to the audience?
Well, that's a very good question. I did write this down. Let me go back to that. Hold on. Okay, my journey. Okay, my journey. My journey is about an inward uh, journey. It's not. I guess it's. I had to go. In order to understand myself. I had to go inward and start asking myself some really hard questions, like why questions, like who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Why is this happening to me? Why am I sad? Why am I fearful? Why am I? Why do I have these problems? And what makes me happy? What do I enjoy and love to do? And these things were either eating at my soul or making my heart sing. So these were the things in which I wanted to explore in my life. And I don't think you need to travel to Mexico or India, but that was my journey. And I learned a lot. I fell in love with the Mexican culture. I fell in love with a Mexican man. I was married to him for 24 years. He was honest with me. He married me to get his green card, but I married him because I fell in love with him. And I just thought, you know, well, sure, he's going to fall in love with me, right? He's going to, you know, how could he not, right? but I was wrong. You cannot make people fall in love with you. You can't force your will onto people. And those were the things that I was very willful when I was young, and I was determined to have my way. And I guess, you know, and sometimes you hurt people when you do that. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. And I think that my experience was what a lot of people in my country have done. You know, married somebody that they probably should have maybe thought twice about. But when your heart is in love, it's hard to listen to anything else, okay? Whether it's another adult or whether it's the law or whatever it is, okay? So then I had the same opportunity when I went to India, and I just already done that kind of attitude. And I realized that the young gentleman that I was having a relationship with on the internet was somebody in which I felt a very kindred heart experience, love for, but it wasn't where I was very cautious, and I was very, I understood that he had a family in India. I understood that he has a life of his own. I didn't want to hurt anybody again, okay? So I was more careful of how I stepped on each stone and made sure that, you know, because he was going to get married one day and have children of his own. And I knew that, and we discussed that. And I was more mature about what I was doing things. And so he invited me to go to India, and I decided, well, that's a great opportunity, and to meet his family and his friends, and to learn a new language and a new culture. So this was my journey. I guess when I wrote it down was in learning all of these things, I guess I was growing and maturing. I'm 55 years old, and I don't think you mature. I mean, you know, I'm 55 years old. You would think that you would be mature by now. But I wanted to be more understanding so that I don't only hurt somebody else. I want to make sure I don't hurt Nancy as well, because that's important too, okay?
Yes.
And in order to not get hurt, that means and your heart is the thing that breaks the easiest if you don't agree with me there. So I had to be careful. And I guess my journey was one of a Kundalini awakening, kind of understanding, and which takes a lot of inner work. So you need to find, I needed to find that peace and being in the moment, not trying to impress anybody, and just learn from just being happy. That was what I needed in my life. That wasn't any. It takes a lot of work to get there, and I had to like write down all those things that I just told you about. And I think, what is it? Matthew 7:7. I wrote this down. It says, "Ask and it shall be given; seek and you shall find; knock and it shall be open unto you." And then Philippines 1:29, "Your pain is your purpose." And I'm like, whoa, that is very deep. So, and I found that the struggle I went through was my book, and that journey of self, and finding trying to convey what I was going through, because even when I wrote the book, I really didn't understand. I think that they say your inward journey, you don't always have to know. What is it I wrote? You don't have to see the first step. You just keep walking, okay? And you don't really have to know. You just have to start writing down what it is you're feeling right now. And I know your feelings create your experience. So I understand when I was going through a K2 Mahadasha. So I was, I went through a lot. I was like researching like crazy, and I was brand new to Google, and I was brand new to YouTube and all of that. So I became a YouTube Google holic. I was trying to find all my answers, and then I started looking in books, but the inward journey is, how do you feel? How do I feel? How does this make me feel? And I've been through counseling for 30 some years. And then, because I wasn't an educated woman, I was working with disabled children. And, there was a lot of pain, and I was seeing a lot of children in pain and struggling to have a voice, or struggling to walk, or anger issues, behavior issues. And they say what you see out there is your reflection of you, but a lot of times not too. You're just kind of observing. So, and I think when you become an observer of behavior and other people you're observing, you become more mature. You start to live compassion. And then when you can start, which is a higher level of love, right? And then that you're now coming from a mature perspective in life, and you're living on that higher 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional kind of experience. And then you can go live through back and forth in those dimensions, where you start saying, you said, okay, I want to go back to that time when I first left my husband for the first time, and I want to go back and change that. I want to change that, because that would have been a better time for me to leave. And I start changing that in my now moment, so that maybe in this future moment that I'm living now, I forgive myself. And then I can now, that past was healed. And then now I can live more peacefully. And that was what I was doing a lot of work on. And I know it's sometimes a little kind of crazy how I talk about it, but that's really, really kind of where I'm living from. When you live in different dimensions, you like flying back, and you sit there and you meditate, and you're like, I want to go back to that time where I need to forgive myself of that sin that I did against myself, and try to find a better peace. And sometimes just reliving it and finding a new way to live it. And then you're like, so in that other universe, you fixed it. And now you can come back to this physical plane and live a more less painful emotional experience. So no more psychopaths, right? So, but anyway, so are there any other, I got everything that you've written down here. I wrote down a bunch of stuff I've been reviewing. Any other questions I can answer for you?
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful story. And I was listening. You are absolutely correct. Most of the time, it's about balance, right? And I see it like
Yes.
so many people try to get out uh, of balance, and I'm trying to like help people in the law of attraction. It's not always easy, and
Mm-hmm.
I for the past few weeks I've been hurting, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
this is actually my dream, right? This is my
Mm-hmm.
dream to do interview with authors, and I had this experience with this one person, and and she was telling me I was seeking, but you know I do agree that answer within you when it comes to natures and yourself and the journey within, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
you want to learn something that it's not there, when you're trying to uh, do a business, there's no answer within. That's what and I try to solve a lot of people problems because I see a lot of pain that in their life. And most people in the law of attraction, they don't start like you said, like the first step in starting, you got to start doing your
Mm-hmm.
dream,
Yep.
right? And it's not always
Absolutely.
easy. Sorry, I get rejection, and it's when it's not always easy. And you're also a special education teacher, isn't it, right?
Yes.
And I felt I felt like books are my passion because it changed who I am. It changed my
Mm-hmm.
mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
the lady that I talked to, she 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 kind of crossed that boundary a little bit, and that's was hurting me, and I was ranting. But it's okay. I know I'm ranting, but because so many people have like so many answers. This is just me. Answer to law of attraction. I don't know all the answers, and that's just because I don't have the wisdom. Right? We don't need to know, but like what I'm trying to say is like there's always more to learn.
Well,
Um,
I think that you don't have to understand it. I think that just knowing it, I think the thing is you start living it.
yeah,
And like you said, you have to take action. And I think by taking action, then you start to understand that, oh, don't need this. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, then you just, and failure is probably one of your best friends, right? So, and because failure is not a bad thing. And,
yes, that's true.
I believe that that's a good, because you learn something and that's important, right?
Yes, that's important, and you're right about that. I guess too many times we want things to be perfect, right? I mean,
Mhm.
to be honest, I at first time when I do YouTube and I want to do interview, of course we have this like crazy idea to be perfect, but nothing is perfect, right? And I didn't know how to do interview, so I just go for my dream, and then the author, the he helped me with that, and I'm so grateful. And
Mhm.
also, um, there's the how when you were dealing with special education student, how were there any how can we help them, or is there any way to make it better? I know that you told me that it's a huge challenge
It is.
that
It's a big beast, right? It's a dragon to
yes,
slay.
yes, yeah,
Um, in 1970, I have it written down here. In 1970, let me get my glasses on. Okay. Um, in 1970, uh, there was an Education Act. Okay, an enactment of 1975. Two federal laws would change this: the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, the EHA, and the Individuals with Disabilities Act, the IDEA. The EHA established a right to public education for all children, regardless of disability, while the EDEA requires the schools provide an individualized or an IEP, an individual education program, or special education for children with qualifying disabilities. Under the IDEA, states who accept public funds for education must provide special education to qualifying children with disabilities. Okay? And now there's a whole bunch to read. This is on the Special Education News. All
mm,
right. And I am let me read more here. It says, although not all children with disabilities are covered by the IDEA and the EHA. These two acts have been instrumental to ensuring a free public education to millions of children with disabilities each year since the passage of, okay? And today these children receive their education alongside children who do not have disabilities, all right? So, and I work, okay, I don't claim to be a professional, okay, but it is my profession to be in the education program, all right? And I do know children have uh, an IEP. But, okay, I know this in 1970, 1975, even in 1960, 60 or 61, JFK, Kennedy, also had what is it called? It was called the Panel on the Mental Retardation Education as well. He started that. But I think that what happened is it used to be that you had to put your child in an institution, right? And this way they got professional help, psychiatrist and all the best, all right, of help, but it was expensive, all right? And as you know, a lot of children are going to the public school system now for special education because it's free. And it's not, it is a system that can work, but you need to have both your parents, the school, and you need to have family members behind you on all this. You need to have goals and meet those goals for your children. I think that we see all kinds of children with disabilities, everything from children that can't talk to can't walk to children with behavior issues. I know that sometimes we don't have enough help, and sometimes they need more than what we can give them. And that's when their parents or teachers have to try more to find a place for them so that they can get the help that they do need. And which means a lot of data taking. It means a lot of writing down everything that is going on with this child so they can get the help that they need and in place where they do need. And most parents that are either adopting children or that have issues or behavior issues or whatever it is, then they can know where to go. But it takes a very active parent and very active school in order to take care of this, which means that a lot of parents have to do their research. It really is, unfortunately, not the children's fault, okay? It's more people that are trying to help their kids to begin with, which are their parents and the school. Everybody has to work together, right? There has to be cooperation. If there's no cooperation, then who suffers, right? The children. And that's what we don't want, is for them to suffer. So which means you have to have benchmarks, which are made in the IEP, which means they have to have goals in which everybody has cooperation, teachers and children, done with the child's needs first, putting aside all egos, which means everybody has to put aside their huge egos, okay? And let's look at, what does the child need, okay? That's where it all really comes to. And I mean, I think our government needs to take a good look at that as well. You know, what's really working, is this working? And we need people that can be an activist for that. And, you know, and I think talk to any social worker or special education teacher and they'll tell you, yeah, there's a lot of changes that need to be done. Oops, I probably should turn my phone off here. But anyway, I don't know if that was helpful or not.
Yeah,
But,
that was it. Yeah, it gave me a couple ideas that I can work with. Thank you so much for that.
you're welcome.
Because you know, when I was going through the special education, and I felt truly alone. I felt
Yeah,
like I had. I
right.
mean, sure, I had teachers, and of course I'm really good with teachers. They're really nice, but
Mhm,
when it comes to because there's a lot of pressure, right? When
mhm,
you with your age, right? You want to graduate with them and stuff like that, and if you don't go with their grade, you have like people tell you you're stupid or stuff like that. Because I had a lot things happen to me during high school, and
mhm.
I believe that if we, you're right, there's a lot of things that need to change in the
Right.
educational system. Like I don't remember like I remember we studied the, you know, the alphabet, and all those things were great, but I think that
Mhm.
what should happen is start with the kid mind first, right? If we
Right.
bring the technique or methodology
Mhm,
for utilizing our brain, then
mhm,
it help it so much. Because
mhm.
I can see like the person just like me for special education, I can see that they're really smart. Some are really smart.
Oh,
It's just
yes, they
that
are.
some, yeah. So some like they doubt themselves that if they can really do that subject, but they can, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's.
And my
But yeah,
daughter was, I have, you know, I know people, she was in special education, but she was more of a push-in kind of student because I understood that she was, you know, you have to She graduated from college. She's got a job now, and she's happy. But you have to be a very active parent. You have to get involved in their school. You have to make sure, you know, Mama Bear. She's, you gotta get fierce. You gotta get behind them. You gotta make sure there's an understanding. You can't fight with the school system. It doesn't really work to fight with them because their hands are tied too. It's you have to be cooperative. You have to learn to communicate and make sure that the folder was getting back communication with their school, filling out those folders, making sure we're communicating, whether it's email or folders, and make sure you're involved because your child is important. Every child is important. And if they're not getting their needs met, then you need to find out why. Why is my child, what happened here? Who am I supposed to be talking to? And the school loves it when you're talking to them. Everybody loves communication. In any relationship, it's always important to communicate. And that's, I believe the key to any situation.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. I do agree with that. Sometimes people don't communicate with each other. Usually because most of my friends don't communicate with each other anymore, or they start talking about themselves instead of focusing with the other person, right? Connecting.
Yes.
And I believe that they forget. I don't think that if I always tell them, I always tell this in my video, that if they can bring, that's that's not going to happen ever, but if they can bring self-help into school, that'll be great, right? If they get a book called how to win friends and influence people, that's even greater.
I love
Because
that book. Yeah.
I love that book too.
The Power of Positive Thinking, by Vincent Pale, isn't that who wrote that? Yeah. Thinking positive and as soon as you wake up in the morning, just start, what's going to get you in a good mood, right? Whether it's a first cup of coffee or anything, just try thinking, I sometimes have a hard time falling asleep because I went through a really hard, big day. And I'm like, okay. So I start saying, thank you for this warm bed. Thank you for this soft pillow. And eventually once you start being thankful for a few things, that changes everything. You're starting to feel tired. Oh, thank you for my warm bed. Thank you for my warm home. I'm so grateful I have a good home to sleep in, and just start thinking, it could be the littlest thing, that makes you happy.
You have a beautiful home. That's what I want to say. You're very beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
No problem. So, okay, thank you so much for the information for the special education. That helps a lot to me and to those people who's watching. Okay, so we're gonna talk about what is astral projection, because this is on my list. Well, not list. Question. What is astral projection for people like me and myself, or people who are curious? Because I understand about dimension when you were talking about dimensions. I do believe in that, but I don't go deep into the they call it the rabbit hole. But you were, of course, I do agree with you about. Also, I think you know about astral projection, right?
Yes, I'm familiar with the term, and my fiance has done this. Okay, I have never felt like I never felt my body where I left my body and went to, like say India, okay, or to Mexico, okay. And I know that some people have, but that hasn't been my experience. My experience has been where I can meditate, sit, and I want to go back to a time, and all of a sudden my mind will take me there. I'm saying, take me back to the time when I was feeling whatever, okay? And then right away my mind will take me there, and I can observe from my mind that point of time, and then I can say to myself, with myself now, bring my wiser self, okay, into that time and say, Nancy, I got this, okay, and go, and this is how we want to fix it. And then, and I say to that younger Nancy, this is what we need to do. And then I fix it, and then I bring myself back into the present time. And then I all of a sudden I'm feeling a lot lighter, and like, wow, that's all I needed to do, was to think about it, was to go back in that time and ask myself, well, how could I fix this? And then sometimes you see yourself, I don't know what it could be. It could be like, maybe you divorced, maybe you got married, and or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, like all of a sudden that opportunity will bring itself forward to you again in the future. And then you're like, okay, now I know what to do, you know, and that opportunity comes and you're like, got this, and now I know what to do. And it's everything from writing. You can sit down and write a letter. You can write a letter to the person that you made the mistake with, and just write, you know, if I could go back in time, if I could change this is what I would do. And then it may not be that person, but you get presented with another person and you're like, know what to do. I already got this because I already figured it out. I already figured it out on paper. I know what I can do now. So, you know, it's kind of like just your mind is wonderful, because you can really figure so easily. Have to do it just to do it. It's kind of like you just, and you know, I have 33 years of counseling too, okay? And thank God for that. I have Dr. Linda Parch, and I met her when I was in college, and you know, she's been wonderful. So and I can kind of she's run these things forward. I've read books, and I have to say Dr. Linda Partridge is very helpful. She wrote the book called The Five, The Creator Within, and it's amazing what I've learned from that, just from being emotionally mature, which is being your wiser self, right? Learning the higher levels of just compassion, not just giving it to others, to yourself, man. You know, just be nicer to yourself, you know? And there are times where I know I'm giving and giving and giving so much that all of a sudden I want to, like, I'm going to the park to get away from everybody, okay? And I don't want to talk to anybody for a week, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden everybody's calling me. Hey, Nancy, where are you at? What are you doing? And I'm like, well, you know, it's because you give too much and you just need to, and then all of a sudden you're attracting more loving people to you, even whoever it is, okay? And then you start creating more loving relationships, and that's what I was wanting in my life. But it took me going through this awakening in order to get to that. And I didn't realize at the time I was even being so gullible, naive when I was younger. I didn't realize that I was giving so much in a way that would make me tired, or make me, I think Mother Teresa once said that we could give love without getting tired, you know, but you have to first give to your, I know it sounds silly and so cliche, you got to first love yourself before you can love somebody else, but it's so true, you know?
Yeah, it's true. And I started to notice, because I'm in a relationship right now, and I noticed that because I want to, you know, make the person happy. But
Right.
you're right. I noticed that we are all energy, right? Of course we know that, but it's also about the transfer of energy when in relationship. If you give your
That's
so much of your energy and you're not getting back, or what
right.
happened is you need the recharge. And I noticed that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So basically, the relationship is based on energy, like giving energy
Yes.
back and forth. But if you know, so I
Yeah,
certainly
and it's nice to be in a mutual relationship where you're getting that from each other. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
That's it. And we were talking
Right.
about astral projection. I don't know how we got onto
Yeah.
that topic, but
Because I was because like you said, like astral projection, because since we're in the astrology, because since we're talking about spiritual stuff, also I go through spiritual awakening and the dark night of the soul, same as you. I had a yeah, I had a relationship, and for some odd reason, you know it didn't work out. But I believe that I was grateful for that relationship. Well,
oh,
I was angry, but then toward the once I understand what I was going through, and I was happy because I get to find who I like yourself. You told like why you start to ask why, right? Why
yeah,
are we here,
yeah,
and what is our purpose?
exactly.
I start asking, and I start asking that,
Right.
and then you start seeing things from a new perspective, right? You start seeing like,
Yes.
hey, like the world, like we can like when we change our inner world, we can change, the outer world because we change, right? Right. That's
Right.
that's what's happening. We have to first change ourselves, right? It's not always easy. And that's why I want the astral projection is because how like you said when you meditate and you can like travel to dimensions,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm.
For me, when I was sleeping on, well, I had like a stand for the futon, but I was
Mhm.
sleeping and I was floating in the air. Like I astral
Oh, yeah.
projected out of my body,
Yes. Yes.
and then so I
Yeah.
astral projected and I saw my body. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I
Uh,
hear. Okay, I did have a floating experience, but that was with a whole nother. I didn't even realize what was going on with me. That was when I going through that Kundalini energy, I guess, and I felt lifted from the couch. Yes, and but I thought, wow, but I felt so. It was a loving. It was a very loving embrace from the divine Holy Spirit, whatever it is, yeah, energy, and you felt like I just felt so loved, and it was beautiful. And then you just start to that Kundalini. I didn't even know it was a Kundalini. I didn't even know what was going on. Didn't know what's happening to me. And then I started asking what's. So I went back to that astrologer. I started going through pages like what the what the heck just happened to me. And then I had to go and find that answer. But and I did, and yeah, it could have been astral projection. It could have been, she said it was a Kundalini experience, but all of a sudden I became so interested in uh, the grass and the dirt and, everything working together, the good, the bad, and how it
yeah.
made, yeah, how all of it made into something of the earth. And it was beautiful. It was like, wow. So, and I started to understand, well, maybe these bad experience is uh, interconnecting with the good experience and making a beautiful, it's a beautiful life, whether we like it or not. And we have to, it's kind of like, in order for you, when I study astrology, the astrologer told me, she goes, and I didn't understand her interpretation because she said I was going to learn compassion and I was going to learn all these wonderful things. Okay. And and I wasn't open to it. I wasn't, I guess I wanted good, interesting experiences, but I took she said and I put it on a shelf. I just ignored her. But then when these things started happening, I became interested in studying astrology. And I found that the more I studied astrology, I found that, well, in the century, well, no, before the 16th, it's thousands of years old, right? And everybody has used it, from the Greeks to the Chinese to Western astrology, Vedic astrology. Everybody has used it, right? And it's a picture of the sky of when for your own self, but they used to use it for farming and things like that, right? Then eventually it evolved in the 16th century when they started to make natal charts where the kings and queens wanted to find out personally for themselves, right? And then what is it? Then synastry came along, and then in the 20th century you have psychology. Psychiatrists started using it. Like where's the one that I was talking about? What's his name? Oh, Carl Jung. He's a Swiss psychiatrist, right? In the 20th century, and he was interested in how the moon, sun opposing partners, okay, became the "you complete me" effect, all right? And a lot of people have that in their charts when you do synastry. And then there was another psychiatrist named Dane Rude Radar in the 20s. He called the psychology for the natal chart a blueprint for the psyche. So, and then you had Carl Sagan, who was an astronomer and a psychiatrist or an astrophysicist. He believes that the planets, well, we are made of star stuff. They're particles like nitrogen, calcium, iron, and carbon. And all of this is found in our DNA, right? So it became where sometimes, well, they used to think that astrology was entertainment, but the more you study it, the more you find out it's more of a science. And then, so anyway, once you find out that the stars are within you, within your natal chart, you realize, well, it is an inward journey, and you are trying to find where your planets. It really helped me understand myself, because when I found out, because I didn't understand myself, I didn't know who I was. Okay, I really didn't until I started studying and looking within. And then when I saw this planet meant that, and I was monolith, or I was, you know, what your Mars was in your planet in Vedic astrology, that you were that you shouldn't get married until you're probably 26, 34, because you're not really mature enough. And you know, and this all made sense. And I was going through a K2 Mahadasha, which means anything you invest your money in is going to fail. And you know, anything material is going to work, because in a K2 Mahadasha, you're going spiritual awakening, right? And so anything you do wasn't going to work. So now I'm in my Venus Mahadasha, so now it's safe to invest your money, and maybe safe to get married and meet somebody. Because when I was going through my K2, relationships were so difficult, okay? It's a 7-year period. And you were there to learn spiritual. You know, you were going to. God was going to make sure you did, okay? Because this was your lesson. So then I became. So then I started to go through the Kundalini Experience, which is your prana flow of channeled energy. It can call anything from the Holy Spirit to the God energy. Okay, it's spiritual phenomena, right? It's a divine love experience. It's an awakening. And when you read about it, it's in the Sanskrit. It's called the snake. It's called the serpent power. And it's a learning, it's a wisdom, it's hard lessons, it's a karmic. You run into a lot of karmic experiences, like that young lady that you met in India. Yeah, and so it's a state of consciousness.
Oh, well, I met her in the U.S. She came in the U.S., but she's Indian. Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So she's here. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Well, that's even better, right? So then everyone's experience is going to be different, right? Anybody you talk to has gone through a Kundalini experience, they're going to tell you they have everything from cramps in their legs to jerking to, body cramps, everything from the sexual nature to many different visions to really real dreams, you know, that seem so real. It takes you to a place that seems more real than the physical, okay? And then I know that before I started to go through this Kundalini experience, I was walking outside barefoot. I was just living in nature and started to watch sunsets. And I started to do early in the morning and do meditation and yoga, doing ohms into the sunrise. And this became a big part of my life. And then I started to meet, I met Beja. And so, that's just brings us back to starting to ask why questions, and I didn't understand why my ex-husband didn't love me. Why doesn't he love me? Why am I not lovable? It's kind of like, and maybe because I just wasn't lovable. What's the cold hard fact? And what can I do to make myself lovable? And help myself be more of a, because I wasn't very social, even though I was very involved in marketing and I grew up in a very social environment, but I was really in the mud sometimes and very negative, and so I had to work on all that, and I tried. So it just takes a little effort, and and I guess you also asked okay, you got a couple more questions, I guess you said what
Yeah,
do I
what
think
is Kundalini? Yeah, what is Kundalini and awakening?
Yeah, and I kind of went through that, and your pain becomes your purpose, right?
Yeah.
And
No, yeah. Wait.
I think the
Sorry. Go ahead.
Kundalini, I just kind of went over, is the balance of good and evil. You start to learn, and
then
it's the energies where you start to feel those chakras light. We're light beings, right? We feel those chakras light, and then when each light comes on, you start dealing with illness, right? Whether it's like you start at your lower chakra and you can have problems down there, right? And then each chakra that lights up, you start to have stomachs with your stomach, like female problems. I have female problems, and then until you work those through, and then you just keep. And this can take years. This can take years to go through. You can when you're a baby, and it takes 20 some years before you can really work through each chakra. And you're working on I am safe. And if you see some of my videos, I go through all that. And then you get to, I think this is where it all meets, right? Through your third eye. And you wake up to, you can manifest things. You see it in your mind. And this is the power of attraction. You start learning all that. You see it in your mind and you hold it and you feel it and you imagine it. And then you start to, and you can love it speak it into existence, and you start writing these things down every day, and you not every day, but you write it down, and you say, this was to happen, this is how I want it to happen, and you write, and then you go back and you look at it, you tweak it a little bit if you don't think so, a little bit more, and I got my home because I knew what I wanted. I had it in my mind. I knew what I wanted. You can do this. You can do this with your soulmate, with a person you're going to meet. It's like you can do it, and it's not magic, but it's more. You understand that. I guess the secret is that people don't want you to know that you are your own. Can I say that?
Oh, sorry.
Right? You have that. Right. Yeah, you have that ability. Even though I'm very thankful for Jesus, and I'm very thankful to God all the time, because when you're suffering, okay, when you're in pain, where do you go? You go to God, right? You go to God, and you start talking, you start working through that pain, and you need that higher vision, that higher God to guide you, that North Star, the this upper, like you say, that dimension that we were just talking about, you start looking up to there. And that's where you're guided, those angels, you know, that come and they guide you. And whether you see it or not, you're being protected, being guided. And so, and you just believe in that higher power. And
Yes.
so anyway,
No,
I've been
yeah,
talking.
no, but, oh no, thank you, thank you. Well, yes, you're right. We have a power within. You know, I do believe what you say. Like, when you know you have a vision for
Mhm.
your dream, you can lock it in with your mind, and then you can manifest in the physical realm.
Mhm.
What I notice, you know, what I notice is when I try to, you know, solve, you know, problems in the law of attraction, is that sometimes they don't face their fear, or sometimes they don't take the action. If Even if they, you know, every time when I want to manifest something, it's always, I remember I have to face my fear and I have to listen to my intuition, right? But sometimes
Yes.
we want everything perfect, but we don't start taking action. My message always like, no matter what goals or dreams you have to at least start, right? If
Right.
Because you know, I mean, I listened because you know, we listened to Bob Proctor. You know, he always talk about your terror
Yes.
barrier. Yeah, I love him, and he
Mhm.
always talk about the terror barrier. And what is the terror barrier? Well, it's something that you want, and you're going to hit it. And most people are comfortable, right?
Mhm.
So they bounce back. They're in bondage.
Oh, I
So that's my
definitely
message.
understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So they have to at least face their fear, even if they,
Right.
because I know about the law of attraction, but I'm not an expert. I just like,
Mhm.
I have to face. I'm scared, right? So I have to face my fear.
Right.
So
And I
that
too.
my
And we all do. I think we all do. I think even Bob Proctor does, you know, to a certain point. But I think he's the master. He's a master at this, right? But I think, yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, you gotta, you know, face the fact that maybe there's something about me that I need to look at, you know, that I need to, you know, whatever it is. And I, you know, there are things I want to do. I would love for my book to become a, you know, a national seller or whatever, but I'm afraid. I'm like, what kind of responsibility am I asking for here? Am I ready for that, you know? But and you know, and so I'll work it through. And like, this is really great practice for me, Johnny. Thank you for interviewing me.
you're welcome.
So, and but so I
Yes.
don't know where else.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Because what I do with the interview is I want at least to make the person feel important. So that's why
Mhm.
I do it, right? And I also do it for people to solve their problems, and because
You're one.
I don't know everything. So, um,
Mhm.
I think you already share with your journey to self to the audience. So, I mean, that's the question.
Yes.
So what is your
Yes.
definition of winning? Now, through my interviewing people, I have found that people winning can be happiness or the passion. What is your winning?
Winning to me is peace of mind and heart, being happy in the moment. That is, that's it. I think first feeling, I think you need to achieve that feeling of peace. Um, Even when somebody's asking for an answer right away, I'm always like, that's a good question. But can I get back to you tomorrow about that? You know, because I'm going to have to think about it. You know, that's why I loved that I could communicate with you and we had the questions ahead of time. I'm so glad for that because I've been invited times before and it was a good learning experience to radio, and I was not prepared. And I'm so glad that we did that. So thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
No.
oh, and here I got a verse from John. It says, "Let your heart not be troubled." John 14:10. I think that's if you can achieve that, not to let your heart be troubled, be at peace. And you know, when I walk down the hallway, I'm at school, and instead of taking, you know, I walk pretty fast, and I'm thinking to myself the whole time I'm walking down. I just noticed myself in this. I'm walking down really fast, and I thought to myself, you know, instead of getting there in 2 minutes, I'm going to take the whole 5 minutes and walk, you know, because I don't need to be there that fast, you know, just slow down. Just be happy with 5 minutes walking down the hall. And that's what I do. You know, and I ask myself, you know, I could probably stand up, sit up a little straighter, you know, and I'm walking down the hallway instead of leaning over because I do that a lot. Start, I want to start sitting up, you know, when I walk, you know, be a little more proud of myself. There's nothing wrong with being confident and feeling good about yourself, right?
Yeah, there's
So,
nothing wrong with that. I do agree with that. That's why
yeah.
that's why I, you know, that's like a dream, right? There's nothing wrong doing your dream, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
because I believe that you have to have the courage and the guts to do your dream because people will come at you and tell you
Mm.
things because
Yes.
along my journey I have seen it and it's not very nice, and I try
Well,
to respond in a nice way, but
mm-hmm.
you still feel hurt because
Right.
it's your dream and you want to pursue that.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Well, of
You
course.
should.
Yeah. And you're partial to your dream, right? And everybody knows it. But I think when you I guess when people know that, I don't know, it's kind of like what you see of me, like Rumi, what do you, Rami says, the beauty you see in me is the beauty in you. So whatever it is that, depending on their maturity level, you can pretty much see, and you say, well, what you see in me is what is in you. So, you know, they can't argue about that. So it's funny that you recognize that in me. And it's just not, it's not that you're trying to be mean or anything. You're just like, or you don't even have to say anything to them. You're like, oh, that's interesting that they saw that in me. But, you know, you just take it as well. But if you're coming from a more mature level, you're going to be, and most of the time by then you don't get that anymore because you're you have a light that shines from within that protects you, and you say to yourself, before I've learned, before I even go into work, I just start to protect myself, you know, that torus of light, and you're just like, I'm protected, and people are nicer, you know, and you're just you know, and when people start to get kind of, well, like, you're like, oh, gotta go, you know, got an appointment, you know. But you don't have to be around it. You don't allow it. You don't allow disrespect. You know, they're being disrespectful. Sorry, can't allow it. Gotta go. You know, even this even happens with your family members. I mean, you know, you're kind of like, oh, gotta go. It's time for me to get home or whatever. I know you have to do it in your own way. You got to find
Right.
what works for you, right?
Right. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes.
And you did say overcoming fear. I know Isaiah says 41:10, do not fear, for I am with you. You just remember that I said suffering is, you connect to your higher self. When we're suffering, we tend to pray. We want to find, you look for the answers within, and
right.
trust in God, be patient, take action. Don't always, and it's not always comfortable action. Sometimes you gotta look at it. You gotta look at your fears. You gotta look at the worst, your worst self, and be more happy, be more peaceful. Everyone has fear. It's a waste of time to pour your time into an energy that makes you feel tired, depressed, right? Um, we are we are in charge of our own lives. You need to realize that we're the ones. We need to take action. Nobody else
That
is going
is.
to do it for us, right?
Yes.
And so, we need to break free from limitations, address your fears with realistic goals, um, use your resources, get organized, uh, make a goal list, write how you're going to take the steps, see it happening, so in your mind, in your heart. Make sure that you're around people uh, that are going to encourage you rather than they're rather going to dismiss you or your dream. Try to be around those kinds of people, um, and just enjoy, right? Just enjoy it. So
Yes, thank you so much for that. Yes, I guess when it comes to, like what you said, we have to enjoy our journey.
Mhm.
Sometimes uh, when we, or I forget sometimes to enjoy, because we want, like I do, like most people, and I do want things right away, right? And
Mhm.
it's like Amazon. I don't know if you use Amazon, but there's like one click buy button, and that's instant, right? And
Right,
that's, yeah, that's like our dream. We want it now, but
right,
sometimes we have to be patient for our dream. But also, like you said, we have to take action.
right.
Mm, right.
And your dream's going to happen then.
Thank you so much. What
Yeah.
does success look like to you?
Success to me is being happy in the moment, being around people who are who love me and encourage me, um, that aren't jealous and that want to, uh, and me just being happy and being happy in the moment, and that's the success is enjoying what you have finally and not being uh, finding fault in so much and just being thankful for what you have every day and for things that come your way that maybe aren't always the best, but finding the good in it. I guess that's my definition of success. And maybe, I feel successful already. I guess I have a YouTube account. I wrote a book. I have a home that I love. I got a car. I have good friends and I eat well. So I do feel successful. And um, I'm I'm pretty healthy, so I think that's also a good thing to have in success. And I work on that, and I work on all of that. So, and relationships, I feel successful that I finally am working on relationships that now I can understand better because I was really horrible. I was horrible at relationships, but now I've worked really hard at that. I've studied it. I've studied myself, find out what I was doing wrong. So, and but now things are going great. So,
Yes. Thank you so much
mhm.
for that. Yes, that's my message to the law of attraction people, is that it's not always about. I know that I know that we're all energy, but also we have to like know that is we're dealing with people, right? And
Right,
we have to come like across with relationship, and it's hard, right?
yes,
And it's not easy, right? And
right,
we understand this, and
mhm,
then that it's not always about attracting a mate. We have to become better as a person, right? And
yes,
it's because, like you said, like what we did wrong in the past, and we were young and naive. I understand that. Like I
mm,
did that too, because I in my video I talk about two
yeah,
people coming together. They don't know themselves. I don't know
right,
myself when I was younger. I was 19 and I was dating. I don't know. So
right,
like,
right.
and we like we have limited of knowledge of ourselves. We don't know who we
Right.
are. We don't really know what our wants are to be able to communicate with other people, right? Because now I'm
Yes.
in a relationship, and the person that I'm with, she support my dream, right? While other people don't support my dream, you know
Mhm.
um and
That's
I was
good.
like, finally. But But that's what my message is for the law of attraction. Just like be brave enough to do your dream, or whatever that dream is for you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today, with how thankful you are with your life. Because I think that you and we live in America, right? And a lot of
Yes.
people, I don't know if you've seen a lot. There's a lot of negativity on Facebook, right?
Yes.
And people always like complain, but they're in America, and they
Right.
have they have taken granted for what they have, right? We
Right.
we never had like TV on our home, but they complain about stuff that's they can solve, you know.
Mhm.
And that's my message for people, is I rather, because these companies, the really big companies, they know how to use your brain, because I read in the book, and it's a habit. I rather they do their dream right instead of complaining or wasting their time on Facebook. That's just me.
Focus on themselves, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
on themselves, and that would, I think that if they do that, they would make it would make them more happier as a person.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And that's why I'm like,
Actually,
when I hear all the how thankful you are, that's really like amazing, right?
right.
Because I don't hear that so often on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Well, you do.
they
You have
haven't.
to. It's true. Yeah. Because I know that I hear a lot of complaining myself wherever you go, and then you start. But then once you start making better friends, I
Right.
think you have a better atmosphere, and then you can start on your feed. You get all this wonderful stuff. You're like, oh, I'm going to start keep making friends over on that side.
That is true. That
'Cause,
is true.
there's one person, I used to make friends with people that are always complaining or about ramping or raving about whatever. It could be anything. And then then you start people who are more focused on their dreams, and they have success written in their, on everything, and how they're working on that. So yeah, yeah, making good friends. It's a
Yeah, that
really
is
good.
true. Maybe really, yeah, I really like that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for that. Where can we find you, Nancy?
I don't have a website anymore, but I'm on YouTube, My Intimate Journey to Self, and I am on Facebook. I'm on Nancy Jo VanHook, and then I also have in My Intimate Journey to Self Facebook page, and I also have. Uh, I'm also on Google Plus, and you can find me on Twitter, and I'm everywhere. So my book is on Amazon, My Intimate Journey to Self, and I do have I'm all linked up everywhere. I got my links there, so you can go straight there and order my book if you want.
Right. Thank you
So,
so much. After this
yeah,
interview, can you send me the link so I can like put it in the description so
I
people can
sure
find you?
will. I sure
Okay.
will.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for
Well,
doing that. I appreciate
no problem.
that.
Thank you for making awesome video. I really love your video because I understand like where you come from for the spirituality. I mean spiritual stuff, because I'm spiritual, but not to the degree that people perceive me to be. Because we're
Mhm.
spiritual beings, right?
Yes, yes.
Whatever our spiritual journey is, that's our path, right? Because I try not to force spiritual path on people, because everybody doing that already,
Yes.
and
Well, there's a
it's up
very
to because
important question we probably all should ask ourselves, which is the question of who is God? You know, these are, just start asking questions. Who is God? And see what kind of answers you get, you know?
uh-huh.
And yeah,
Inside, right? Inside.
yeah.
Well, I read, like you said, you mentioned in my comment. You're always really nice on the comment. Thank you so much for that. Um,
Yeah.
uh, you were talking about you were born rich, right? So most of the philosophy I have is affected because of Bob Proctor, right? Because
Yes.
the stuff that he say is very profound, right? But the
Right.
thing is,
Right.
right, and the thing is, most
That is a
people
good
don't
book.
take. What?
Hmm.
What? Go ahead. Yeah,
That is
and
a good
I
book.
read
You're
in his
born.
book. Yeah, I
Hmm.
read in his book. You are born rich. He was talking about
Hmm.
God, right? How people. Well, it's because I take his belief. I used to like really say the stuff that he say, right? While
Hmm.
he talked about law of attraction. It's the secondary law. While the
Hmm.
primary law is the law of vibration. He said that a lot,
Hmm.
and he was talking about how, well, whatever their practices, he talked about how people believe in heaven and hell. I mean, but I don't believe in that anymore, um, because I read many different books on witchcraft, and because basically
Hmm.
people do witchcraft all the time. It's basically trying to influence. It's energy work, because
Hmm.
witchcraft is talk about nature. We're part of nature, so we are, because mankind or society uh, separate ourselves from God, or whoever you people believe in God. But Bob Proctor said it's not about the guy in heaven. It's about the universe. It's everywhere, right? You know how like the
Yes.
atom, it's intelligence. That's what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Bob Proctor meant.
Yes, we are part of that, and we can tap into that, right? And I know there are prophets, and they too are tapping into that. So, and you can, see it in today's life now with Mark Taylor and things like that, with prophets, and you listen to them, you're like, that's interesting. Because that energy is there, and you can see it, and they're using it, and you're like, wow, whether you see it or not, you start to recognize it, people, and you're like, wow, they really know what they're doing, because they're tapped into it. They call it everybody calls it something different. All right, they can, whether they understand it, whether they read that book, Law of Attraction, or whatever. But yeah, they're, I think even, or some of our not. We're finally in the United States, we're starting to finally maybe get there, start maybe getting some positive, but you just gotta believe in it though. You gotta believe it's gonna happen. And every day say your affirmations that, and you tap. I know there is a power of praying for a country, or praying for a country. I mean, things are gonna happen. And so yeah, I follow all that. I read a lot. I follow a lot of different groups and things, but I want to make sure I'm getting in with the right group. Me anyway. But I want to say thank you. I hope this was helpful. I'm really glad that you sent me all those link questions, and is there links to my book and my YouTube account?
Yes, and you can follow her. I'm gonna leave the link below, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye bye, guys.
Okay.
Oh wait, thank you. I forgot. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I'll
Isn't
see you
and
guys
how do you